Okay, so I've got my hands on gojs, that is a popular library for creating interactive diagrams in the browser. The web platform itself is growing like crazy, and today we often can't imagine our lives without online Office or Slack. The progress itself is so rapid that it is possible that in the near future we won't be able to tell the difference between web and native applications. But to achieve this level of interactivity, we need some means to create smoothed and timed animations. Nobody likes to see jitters, and a lot of past applications gave us a lot of this stuff. Are the features enabled to us by Gojs enough to satisfy our need for smooth animations? Let's find out. Gojs has conquered the market, becoming the most popular library for creating data modeling applications. And not without any reason. It applies to developers by A. Extensive documentations, B. Large collection of examples that covers almost all frequent use cases. In fact, just scrolling through here takes a lot of time. And C. They offer a friendly support team that will answer all of your questions, be it on the company community forum or via email. I tried contacting them and they answered the same day with comprehensive answers. Okay, so how does it feel to actually write with this lib? The first try, in spite of long documentation, is actually not that bad. Our first example presents the very basic functionality with palette and interactive canvas. You can drag from palette and put node onto diagram. The code, likewise, is also simple. Both diagram and palette were created by the command that takes the type and properties of created object. The number of options you can put in the latter is fair for a project of this caliber. There are options like the support for drag and drop on the or the undo function that is very handy in the context of apps that allow users to create their own stuff. Luckily, no external framework is required and you can write using Gojs in pure JavaScript. This is very desirable given current status with JS libraries and frameworks. Okay, so that was all for our first narrow encounter with the library. I highly encourage you to read the documentations and examples from the official site. They cover a lot of useful applications. Let's go back to the main topic though and talk a little bit about animations. Should you watch the previous example closely, you would find out that at the start, nodes don't appear in their places, but rather they smoothly transition toward them. We can oversee such movement using built-in tool named Animation Manager. The API is simple. As the second example presents, Animation Manager allows us to manipulate the duration of an animation. Other than that, we can enable or disable all animations, stop current one, or check whether a given animation is sticking. The last one is possible thanks to built-in events, animation starting and animation ending. Unfortunately, all that Animation Manager can do is link to already created animations. Gojs doesn't have any means to create new ones, so to do it, we have to use raw code. Our target was to animate node size change, and we prepared several attempts to make it work. In the first try, we actually tried to redraw the whole diagram. Since we haven't any control over the graphics context, the only way to clear canvas was by removing all children from the Gojs container. This method's performance was, let's just say we weren't surprised. See it for yourself. Those buttons let you change the width of presented node with, in theory, smooth transitions. As you can see, it's hard for more junky performance. Unfortunately, Gojs doesn't behave like a simple graphics library, but rather it is a whole new system that takes control over all aspects of rendering, including animations. This shouldn't be a surprise though, since this is not something this library promises to deliver. What is more worrying is the fact that we couldn't find any straightforward way to dynamically remove all diagrams, data and references. This is something that should be looked into in the near future. Okay, so when the lazy solution was out of the way, we tried doing things a little bit smarter. Every diagram created by Gojs contains its own model, which is a set of parameters that describe each and every node that belongs to the diagram. Among those parameters, there can be of course also properties that define overall size of the node. The connection between model and node is made by object called binding. We declare it the moment the new node's definition is made. To work, each binding requires up to 2 parameters and an optional function that describes the mapping mechanism itself. When we have our binding in place, it is time to make our desired animations. Each animation tick, we reach up to diagram's model and change the defined property value to match new width. Everything else worked very similar to the previous example, but this time the performance was much better. That would be all for our first narrow encounter with animating gojs diagrams. Our last example wasn't perfect either. There are problems like transaction management which doesn't work very well with recursion. It's quite a shame that given all the functionality that Northwood's library has given to us, there are no means that would allow us to create and manipulate animations. Hopefully, in the future the built-in animation manager will be given additional functionality, but for now, we are left with raw loops and wishful thinking. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Check out my next video where I try to make server-side code with React. Subscribe if you want to see more programming investigations, and see you next time.